Welcome to Mountaineer Rants. We are here to preview West Virginia versus Texas. It's on October the 1st, first day of October, Saturday night, Fox Sports 1, 7:30 at Darrell K. Royal Field. I think that's how you say it. I'm not 100% sure, but looking forward to this ball game. It could be a very interesting. In fact, I was going to give you, I'm Terry, this is Paul. Something real quick, just a little aside. We play October 4 games in October, West Virginia does, and we play 4 Texas teams. It's the October of Texas. So we're going to find out what we're made of in this October.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. This is, I hate to say it, a must-win for both teams. Both teams are 2-2. Texas has caught a lot of heat because they lost last week to Texas Tech, and they've already lost to Alabama. And there's a lot of heat going on because they're intolerant of those kinds of losses.
Their coach Sarkisian is 7-9 since he's been there. They're already talking about showing him the door or getting a new defensive coordinator. I've been reading some of that too.
Texas is favored in all the rest of their games against everybody. And they're favored the most against West Virginia. They've got an 85% likelihood of winning this game. The next closest is like 80% against TCU. And they're even favored against Oklahoma.
I saw the line at 9.5 points favored against us. I don't know.
This is a team that last year scored 35 points a game and ended up 5-7.
It's not a problem with their offense.
And this year, we're preseason ranked. Some polls had them in the top 10, even though they weren't even bowl eligible last year. There's some great PR down in Texas for this Texas team.
Consistently overrated.
They are the Ohio State of the Big 12.
It's true, and soon to be the SEC. Well, they'll get a little comeuppance when they go to the SEC.
Let's talk a little bit about what they have, because they are loaded. They have a running back by the name of Bijan Robinson.
NFL material, will be in the NFL. Great football player.
He made a name for himself in 2020 when he was a freshman. He did more in 2021 where he had over 1,127 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's a Heisman candidate. He's a very good football player, no question about it. They have a wide receiver named Xavier Worthy. He also exploded on the scene in 2021, 62 passes for 981 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Scored a long touchdown against us up in Morgantown last year. We were at that game. And, he's a ball player, but he was hobbled a good bit in that Texas Tech game.
He's another one that's questionable. We don't know whether he's going to be able to play this week or not. They have a linebacker named Demervion Overshone.
Yeah, he's really good.
And Overshone is the last 2 seasons he's had like 134 tackles, 13.5 for losses, and 3 sacks with 2 interceptions. He's all over the field. He's a very good ball player in a defense that may be otherwise questionable. They have a fellow by the name of Deshaun Jameson, who is their kick returner. He averaged a conference-leading 11.4 yards per return on 13 punts. He never took one to the house, but his longest was 43 yards. See, we can't even catch the ball. You
don't want to kick this guy the ball, but yeah, exactly. No, he's a weapon and a threat anytime you punt the ball to him.
And then everybody was excited about the Ohio State transfer quarterback, Quinn Ewers,
who is a good ball player.
He left Ohio State ranking 100 in quarterback rankings. Once again, nerds do that kind of stuff, but that's perfect no matter how they've ranked it. He's a 5-star. And we saw the game against Alabama where he got hurt, and he was deadly. I was impressed. I don't like quarterbacks, but I was impressed with this guy. He's spot on.
Extremely accurate with the football. Very accurate.
He got hurt, or I think they beat Alabama. They ended up losing to Alabama by 1 point. They put in their backup as a fellow by the name of
Hudson Card. Yep.
And Hudson, I thought, played a pretty good game, and he got hurt in the Alabama game. They were down to their 3rd-string quarterback, which to Texas is not as tough as the rest of us, but against Alabama, that was enough for Alabama to eke it out.
Ewers practiced last week apparently and dressed and went on the trip to Texas Tech, and I read something 75% chance that he would play this week, but we don't know for sure. He's good.
They're keeping that in the. Card played last week against Texas Tech. He was 20 for 30 for 277 yards against the Texas Tech defense that I think looked an awful lot like us. They're quick. I don't think they hit hard, but they do hit you. I think they get out of position occasionally, but they're not very physical. But I think Card, who even ran a couple of times against Tech, he'll find the weak defender and the open receiver, and he'll hit him.
He made a nice drive down the field at the end of regulation against Texas Tech. They only had a few seconds. He got down the field to kick the field goal to tie it, to send it into overtime, and Card looked masterful on that drive. So he's no slouch. Just because if Ewers doesn't play, I don't think we get the backup and we get Card. And, well, now they're easy. No, he's good too.
And they lost to Texas Tech in overtime. In fact, they were leading at one point 31-17 going nearly into the third quarter, and then they lost in overtime on a fumble. So they've got 2 losses. They're 2-2, and they're respectable losses, and they are Texas. So what does that mean? Well, it means they're loaded with talent. For example, I was struck by their defensive lineman by the name of Tavondre Sweat. He's 6'4", 340 pounds, and at one place they've got a freshman tackle that they haven't got in yet. He's listed as 6'5", 360 pounds, and in another location he's listed as 6'7", 370 pounds. And I don't know, maybe Texans can't do numbers.
Let's break it down.
These are big guys.
They get big guys. They get talented people. Texas is a destination for a lot of good high school football. There's a lot of good high school football in Texas. So they're going to have the athletes and the ball players.
Right now, for example, the recruiting class for Texas is ranked number 3 in the nation for the upcoming class. And I'll give you just another contrast. Their recruiting class has 6 5-stars, 52 4-stars, and 36 3-star athletes in their recruiting class. Now let's contrast that with West Virginia, who's having one of their better recruiting classes in a long time. We have 1 5-star, 4 4-stars, and 56 3-stars. What's that mean? It means they're loaded. They're always loaded. They always have the guys across the crest. Now, having said that, I think their defense is questionable.
Absolutely.
And we mentioned they were 5-7 last year, despite the fact that they gave up 31 points a game. They gave up 200 yards rushing a game. They gave up 5.2 yards per carry a game. Maybe that's not because they're not good, and maybe that's because they're constantly changing their defensive schemes. They've had 3 defensive coordinators in the last 3 seasons. I think their linebackers are average, with the exception of Overshawn.
Overshawn's good.
I think they play inconsistently generally, with the possible exception of Thompson and Cook, and you'll see a little more of that. And I think they have a tendency to fall apart, especially late in the game, especially when they're leading.
The only contradiction I'd say to that in that Texas Tech game is if you look at that, Texas Tech ran 100 offensive plays.
Right.
So any defense is going to be worn down when you're on the field for 100 plays on the defense. So there is something to that. Maybe we figured that's a good way to try to beat this bunch.
And that's a good point too. You know, Texas Tech went for it on 4th down 8 times in that game, and they got it 6 times. So that's another indication that Texas Tech wasn't afraid of the Texas defense.
Complete disrespect of Texas's defense, and it worked out. I mean, when you're going to make 6 of 8 4th downs, yeah.
And why is that? Well, let's look at a little statistics. Sarkisian is 1-7 in conference games, and he's 7-9, 7 wins and 9 losses in his last 16 games. He had halftime leads in 5 of those 9 losses. So they collapsed, plus including fourth quarter leads. He had double-digit leads in 4 of those losses.
Yes.
Double-digit leads and still lose the ball game.
Oklahoma last year, Texas Tech last week. Yep.
It means that defense lays down. And because they got the talent,
Or they wear out.
They wear out or they lay down. And Texas Tech taught you how to beat Texas, and that's the way the Mountaineers can beat Texas. Texas Tech was behind 31-17 going into the fourth quarter, and they ended up fighting their way back, making it into overtime when Robinson fumbled the ball. Texas's premier running back fumbled the ball. Then all Texas Tech had to do was kick a field goal, and they won it. Now, is Ewers healthy? Is Xavier Worthy injured, or is he playing?
And they got another receiver named Ujomo, I think is how you say it, who's been out, and they're talking about he might be back too, and he's a really good receiver. So we don't know.
Their boards say that Texas is fighting mad and looking forward to beating West Virginia by a couple of scores. They want to run the ball. Sarkisian wants to run the ball. He hasn't been able to do that. If he can run the ball on our defensive line, it'll mean that Pitt and Virginia Tech were not that good. Yeah. If he can run the ball, it's going to be a long day. I predict that they're tough to stop. They're tough to stop in the air, and that they'll score a lot. I'm hoping we score a lot as well.
I think we will.
With their secondary. I think we should be able to. So I'm predicting a high-scoring game.
I absolutely agree. We didn't see Bijan Robinson against us up in Morgantown last year, but they had another back named Roshan Johnson who ran over us pretty good too. So they've got backups, and he plays pretty regularly also. So they've got good running backs.
If you remember that game last year, and we were there at that game in Morgantown, we won that game because a fellow by the name of Daggy hit passes on 3rd and long situations 2 or 3 times.
Made a lot of third down conversions.
And so they held us back, and I'm counting on our guys to do that as well. In other words, we should score, they should score. That means the game comes down to who has the most stops, who has the most penalties, turnovers, and special teams. I think we probably win the stops. I think we stop them more than they stop us. I think we may even win the penalties phase, but I think we may lose the turnovers and the special team phase, making this a likely loss. Well, if both teams play their best game, you have to figure it's going to go to Texas.
I agree with you because they have more talent. I will say this, early the preview, if you watch the preview video, I thought we'd be 4-0 going to this game, and I thought we'd lose this game. I've changed my mind. I think we're going to win this. But it really comes down to our defense. I mean, the defense will make the difference. If our defense can play well enough to win, then we can win this, because I believe our offense will. However, we could lose this on special teams too, and our special teams have not looked sharp. Kickoff coverage has been spotty. Our field goal teams have been good, but our punt return has been poor. So we could lose this game on special teams, and that would be a shame. But that's really where it's going to be decided.
We've gotten better.
Yes.
The defensive secondary looked better against Virginia Tech than they had looked all year.
They have.
And it's the same guys.
Competition.
They still didn't look great, but they looked better. Our special teams look better. We still have some problems, but if the special teams continue to improve, if our lines play with a high level of consistency, and if we get our break, because that's the way to do it. Hang with them until the 3rd or 4th quarter. Don't lose your mind. Keep chugging.
Keep playing.
And JT, in the 4th quarter or late in the 3rd quarter, we can catch back up, get ahead of them, and beat them. We're not adverse to that. We were fighting Pitt right down to the last play. We were fighting Kansas right down to the last play. The other two we didn't need to, but we had a better 4th quarter than we had any of the other quarters against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we got a pick. You hear that secondary pick one off for a change.
Jacoby Spells, get him back in, get him in the game a lot.
And if Charles Woodson
I'd love to see Woods back. I don't know.
Woods gets back, that would be helpful. I'd like to see everybody healthy. I'd like to see us beat their best, but if everybody plays their best, I think Texas wins this one. I think it's in a high scoring game.
I don't know what the line in the over-under is, but I will go and say that this is going to be a lot of points. I think this is a 45-41 kind of game, 38, 41-38, 38-35. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. So hang on to your hats.
But if you disagree, give us a call, shoot us an email, but give us a notification on YouTube, write to us on Facebook, or send us an email at mountaineerrants.com. Some of our guys, Mike King, Craig Henslin, Steve, Tim Glenn, some of those guys know some stuff, and they need to tell us. We'll be glad to hear what your thoughts are.
Hey, put your comments on YouTube, man. We're just making the video. We'd love to hear what you got to say. Sometimes y'all say some really good stuff. Sometimes maybe not so good, but we'd love to hear it. Let's keep the dialogue open. And don't forget, like and subscribe and hit that bell, because that bell will notify you when our new video comes out.
We're supposed to say like and subscribe, but you need to like and subscribe. Otherwise, you'll miss one of these.
Exactly.
And we've got people that won money on our predictions from last time.
That's true, Tom. Tom, I'm talking about you, buddy. With a Darryl Talley.
So we're supposed to say like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Buddy.